For the purification of the mind and its elevation, our scriptures prescribe extremely austere and esoteric spiritual disciplines. But the fruits of all these sadhanas is easily attained by devotees merely by perfecting their selfless love towards the Lord. Not only that, they are able to even enslave their supreme beloved through selfless devotion. There are so many such inspiring stories of saints in Indian history. One of the foremost amongst them is of the female saint from South India, Andal. She is also the only female amongst the 12 Alvars, great devotees of Bhagavan Vishnu. About 1500 years ago, in a little town called Srivilliputtur, close to the pilgrimage city of Madurai, lived a devoted and pious Brahmin called Vishnu Chit. One day, Vishnu Chit, for his puja, had gone to the garden to break tulsi leaves, when he discovered by the side of the tulsi bush a little baby girl. He lifted her up tenderly and brought her gently back home and started raising her up as his own child. He gave her the name Kothai, meaning string of tulsi leaves, but also started lovingly calling her Goda, a name that has stuck till today, and she is famous as Godadevi. But when her divinity became known to people, they started calling her Andal. Andal grew up in a very devotional environment where people would engage in singing the Pashuram's bhajans of the Alvars. She would hear the chanting of Vedic hymns and listen to the glories of Lord Vishnu. The consequence of all of this was the evoking of deep devotion in her heart towards Vishnu in all his forms and dissensions. In particular, Andal was enamored by Shree Krishna, and she considered the devotion of the gopis of Braj as exemplary. She came to know that the gopis had performed Katyayani Vrat to get Shree Krishna as their husband. And she also believed that Parvati had got Lord Shiv as her husband by the performance of a Katyayani Vrat. So she engaged her female friends in singing, chanting bhajans and encouraging them every Dhanurmas to perform the Katyayani Vrat. As Andal came of age in her adolescence, her conjugal sentiments naturally became crystallized towards Vishnu, and she kept seeing herself as the beloved of Vishnu. She got the seva of stringing flower garlands for the Vishnu deity of the temple in their village. So, while making the garland, she would pour in her devotion, and once it was complete, she would put it on herself and look in the mirror to see if it was beautiful enough for her beloved Lord. It went undetected until one day the priest saw a hair in the garland and expressed his concern to Andal's father Vishnu Chit, who decided to get to the bottom of the matter. And he spied upon and saw Andal checking the garland by placing it on herself and then handing it to him. He was extremely annoyed and said, "This is not devotion. You are giving your prasadi mala to Vishnu. You must stop this." Andal could not understand the offense in it. Shabri also had fed her half-eaten berries to Ram. God sees the intention, not the external act. The world sees the external acts, for they do not know the intention. Nevertheless, she stopped doing that, but she started writing bhajans. In those days, she did not receive encouragement for education, but the knowledge of the Vedas blossomed in her heart by divine grace. And she started expressing that in her Pashurams or writings. 30 such Pashurams were combined as the famous Tirupavai, which is sung even today. Finally, the Madhurya Bhav sentiments of conjugal love became extremely deep in Godadevi towards Vishnu. The most famous Vishnu temple in the region was Ranganath Swami in Sri Rangam. Ranganath Swami came in the dream of the high priest of the temple and said that in Sri Villiputtur lives a lady called Godadevi. She should be brought in a palanquin to the temple and married to me. The priest was astonished. He conveyed the message to Vishnu Chit as per the divine instructions. Godadevi was placed on the palanquin, and with great pomp and festivity she was brought to be married to Vishnu. She has expressed in her bhajans as she entered adolescence and her beauty started blossoming. She was very firm and she writes, "My Lord, my beauty is not for the pleasure of any human. It is only for your relishing." So she came. Her heart's deepest desire was being fulfilled. She was now the maiden of Vishnu and being carried by the servants of Vishnu on his instruction to be married to him. The story goes that when the palanquin reached the sanctum sanctorum, she got down and entered and merged into Vishnu Bhagavan, not to be seen again. But the inspiration she left remains till today. So what is this devotion that Andal possessed? Saint Kabir calls it the highest treasure you can attain in your life. Kabira sab jag nirdhana, dhanvanta nahi koya, dhanvanta soi janiye, jahi prem dhan hoye. The one who has the treasure of love for God is truly wealthy and nobody else. And in the Bhagavatam it is prescribed as the highest duty in the human form. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktera dhokshaje. Well, devotion is indescribable. Just as God is infinite and nobody can experience all of God, likewise his devotion is also infinite. So saints in the scriptures have defined bhakti variously. The Vedas say bhajanam bhakti, bhajanam namarasanam. The Upanishads are saying, Gopal Tapani Upanishad, to relish the bliss of God through the chanting of His holy names is bhakti. Maharshi Kapil, who explained bhakti to his mother Devahuti, he says, just as the holy Ganga incessantly flows on the earth planet, from Gangotri till Ganga Sagar, if all your thoughts could flow in the direction of God, that would be bhakti. Jagadguru Shankaracharya expressed it similarly and said, take hard needles and stick them in the soft potato. They will remain lodged. Likewise, if all your thoughts could stick to God, become godly, every thought, that Shankaracharya considered as bhakti. Ramanujacharya expressed it as Prem Yukt Dhyan. Meditative absorption that is imbued with love. Ved Vyas, he expressed it like this. He said, take the etymology. The word bhakti has come from the root bhaj, and bhaj means to serve. Bhajityeshvai dhatu sevayam pratikirtatah tasmat seva budhai prokta bhakti sadhana bhuyasi. So he says that bhakti means service of God. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Swarupoy Krishner Nityadas. The eternal constitutional position of the soul is servitude towards God. A definition that I really love is Bhago Bhakti. What is that? You are a bhag, a fragmental part of God. Just like this hand is a part of the body. So, the hand's position is to serve the body. And in doing so, its self-interest is automatically met. The hand does not need to think, where will I get my nourishment and oxygen from? It only needs to think, how can I take care of the interest of the body of which I am a part? Now, if the hand refuses to accept this relationship of servitude and says, cut me off, enough of service, I'll take care of myself, it won't be able to sustain its own existence. Like that cut off hand is the soul disconnected from God that has been searching for love, bliss and knowledge in the world of Maya since eternity. If one can understand that we are parts of God and in serving our Supreme Anshi, we will fulfill the interest of the soul. There will be no hesitation in surrendering to Him. This bhakti, very interestingly, can be performed in a variety of ways. There is the story of Narsinh Mehta of Gujarat. He used to please Shree Krishna through his bhajans. In particular, his bhajans sung in the Kedar Rag were very pleasing to Bhagavan Krishna. And when Narsinh would sit before the deity and start singing the bhajan in Kedar, the deity would melt in devotion, expressing it by dropping the garland. Now, people made note that when Narsinh sings a bhajan in Kedar, Bhagwan's garland drops and is an expression of acknowledgement. So, one Brahman came to Narsinh asking for help. He said, I need money to get my daughter married. Can you please give me a little loan? Narsinh didn't have any himself. He went to a money lender. and said, I need a loan. The money lender said, what can you put in mortgage? Narsinh said, I'm a poor man, you know very well. The money lender said, put your Kedar Rag in mortgage. You will not sing the Kedar Rag until you pay back my loan. Narsinh agreed and gave it in writing. Now at the same time, some mischievous people went to the king and complained that he was a hypocrite. And the king decided to test his devotion himself. So he made a garland with particularly strong string and asked Narsinh to come. He placed the garland on top of the deity and said to Narsinh, sing, let us see if the garland falls off. Narsinh was restricted from singing bhajans in the Kedar. Not that the Lord cannot melt with other bhajans, but it was his divine Leela. So no bhajan was inducing the Lord to drop the garland, and Narsinh was going to get into deep trouble with the king when Shree Krishna himself took on the form of Narsinh, went to the money lender, paid the amount, got the money lender to sign that the loan was now cancelled, and then came and dropped it in Narsinh's lap. Narsinh saw the message from the money lender that the Kedar Rag is now no longer mortgaged. He sang the Kedar Rag, and Shree Krishna, who had divinely intervened, dropped the garland once again. So, in the Indian culture, all arts, crafts, music, dances have all evolved in a spirit of loving devotion to God. Let us read about the glories of the Indian culture from my latest book, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. Professor Max Muller, German Orientalist and considered the father of comparative religion, says, if I were to look over the whole world to find out the country most richly endowed with all the wealth, power and beauty that nature can bestow, in some parts a very paradise on earth, I shall point to India. If I were asked under what sky the human mind has most fully developed some of its choicest gifts, has most deeply pondered on the greatest problems of life, and has found solutions of some of them, I shall point to India. And if I were to ask myself from what literature we here in Europe may draw that corrective which is most wanted in order to make our inner life more perfect, more comprehensive, more universal, and in fact more truly human, again I shall point to India. Ralph Waldo Emerson, American philosopher, he said, when India was explored and the wonderful riches of Indian theological literature found, that dispelled once and for all the dream about Christianity being the sole revelation. Lord Curzon, Viceroy and Governor-General of India from 1899 to 1906, wrote, powerful empires existed and flourished here, while Englishmen were still wandering, painted in the woods, and when the British colonies were wilderness and jungle, and India has left a deeper mark upon the history, the philosophy and the religion of mankind than any other terrestrial unit in the universe. So many Western scholars and philosophers, when they read the philosophical books and scriptures of India, they said, my, eternal philosophical truth has seldom found a more striking and decisive expression than in the emancipating knowledge of the philosophy of the Upanishads, says Paul Deussen, etc. So these Vedic scriptures have extolled bhakti as the highest of spiritual disciplines. We were discussing the beauty of this bhakti is you can perform it with any material. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. You don't have anything, a fruit, offer it. You don't even have fruits, pluck a few flowers, offer them with love. God will accept. There are no flowers, never mind, just offer water. And this bhakti can be performed with all activities, just as Narsinh would perform it with his singing. Others did bhakti through devotion, others through writing, yet others through the making of great temples, yet others by engaging in amazing sculpture. Thereby bhakti became the center of that ancient Indian society. As a spiritual discipline, we wish to learn how to utilize bhakti to purify our mind through the simplest possible spiritual means and also achieve the highest spiritual goal. We will understand it as we continue this series, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism.
Embark on a profound journey through the age-old wisdom of the Vedas with Swami Mukundananda's latest masterpiece, Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. Unveil the essence of true knowledge as this complete guide delves deep into the heart of Vedic wisdom. Who am I? What is the purpose of life? How can I connect with the divine? Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism answers these intriguing questions in an accessible format that resonates with children, youth, and adults alike. Understand the intricate paths of Karma Yog, Jnana Yog, and Bhakti Yog, and how they converge to guide you towards spiritual enlightenment. Whether you're a seeker of truth or simply curious about spirituality, this book offers a gateway to understanding life's deepest questions. Join Swami Mukundananda on this enlightening voyage and transform your understanding of the universe. Spiritual Secrets from Hinduism. Experience the absolute truth. Available on Amazon. Get your copy today.